No, it doesn't work in shared. I'm not. First of all, I was moving half of the time. Second of all, I was coding the second half. What y'all want? That is so many steps. My God. Alright. Jesus. I'm 8th iteration, so I'm assuming we're on what, index 7 now? Good. Okay. Phew, okay. Yeah, I had to make sure. I was like, I had to count. Okay, like this is. Yeah, I had to make sure. Like, oh, I had to count twice. I'm like, wait, it's 0 index. That's not right. Okay, so I is equal to 7. So we're doing this. We got our value. I'm guessing we're now comparing it to starting from the biggest number in the array. Do we have it? Does it exist? Yes, it exists. Well, wouldn't there be 2 checks? Right, so if it is a number, then we actually compare the values. Oh, you did my job for me. Okay, yeah, sure. Let's go with that. No, I don't want to. I got enough to do later. Um, I am. It's called coding. Is there a way to do this on Python Tutor without showing the solution? But anyway, so, so all right. So 541 greater than 141. Yes, it is. That's fantastic. So now, because it's greater than our greatest number, that means we have to shift all the numbers to the left, which means manually max becomes our former max becomes mid, our former mid becomes min, our former min is dead. It's no longer there. We get rid of it. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? Our current array, or whatever we're calling it? I didn't know that's what we were calling it. It makes it sound so much, uh, you know, our current. So, with 5 4, yeah, I was like the 500 number looking thing. That's huge, but I'll pick you to do the last three. Um, who hasn't been called on? Raise your hand. Oh, that didn't work. Okay. I feel like everyone's been called on. I can't think. Yo, Ray, who hasn't been called on? You would know. Hey, volunteer, even better. Go ahead, new guy. We all are. New guy and a junior. Perfect. The water's fine. Yeah, you do. And shout out to Ray for being nice, because my first algorithm teacher would just roast anybody who got a wrong answer. So he was Simon Cowell of coding, and he enjoyed it very much. So yay. Okay. Uh, I don't even know if I want to see either at this exact moment. You can leave the picture up. Okay, so huh? You don't see it? Oh, the stock screen. No, no, you're good. You're good. Okay. Okay, so all I got is water, but if you want to gift me alcohol, I'll send you the address to send it to. Yes, so first we're going to start, well, in this solution, yes, we're going to have 3 helper functions just to make it so much easier to read, which also helps in interviews as well. You got to have readability. So basically for find 3 largest numbers, I'm just going to kind of create this function first, and then this function will call another helper function, and then the helper function right below. Oh, he doesn't see the group. Then the helper function right below will call another helper function, so it'll be kind of stacked. But yeah, someone feel free to show Trey that group if he cannot find it. Like someone type in the exact group name in the chat. No, I was giving instructions to the chat, not the Jen. Jen, you're going to write. So, as I was saying, the first thing we need to do for our initial function is we need to create an array that will store the 3 largest numbers. Jen, what did you call that array? What did you like to call it? Create the array that we're going to return as an answer. Yes, because I know if I start changing variable names, it all goes downhill very fast. So create a 3 largest array, however you want to spell it. Const are you okay, driver? So we're going to create, for me, I will create an array with just 3 null values inside of it, however you choose to do so. That's the easiest to read, so let's keep it. Where are you going? Okay. So should we be using a bunch of ES6 syntax, or should we not? Or I don't know how much everyone here knows ES6. ES6 is good. So, in terms of this function, it technically does not matter. The function will still program properly. It's for readability. We need to understand that this array is going to be created. It's always going to be an array. So const just make sure that this array, even if we change the values inside of it, this variable will always contain an array. So it helps in that regard. Technically it could change the length. It just keeps it as an array. It can't be reassigned into something else. And if in the workplace and things like that with linters, this comes in handy, so you always know which values can actually be completely overridden and which cannot. Okay. So you can have the const 3 largest. We have our empty our array with 3 null values, and now we are basically, this function is just going to call our helper function What did you call the helper function, Jen? Yes, we do. Well, okay. Our helper function is going to update the largest number in the array. So what should we call that? Okay, then. We are going to call it update largest. And in general, or in this specific case? You're working me too. I don't get paid enough for this, Jen. So we're gonna. In general, we want the helper function. Yeah, the check. Oh, it is. Yeah, like my stimulus, I'm sure. So you have the helper function is a separation of code. It makes it easier to read. It makes it also easier to debug, and it makes it easier to refactor in further down the road if we want to make our code run more efficiently or smaller, or just renaming variables. It's easier to maintain. In this specific case, we are creating a... Oh, one more thing. Probably also the biggest thing that I completely forgot. Thank you, Ray. It's you always want reusable code, and the smaller you make your functions, the more kind of utilitarian you make them. The less that they do, the easier it is to reuse those functions in other parts of your program or application. You don't think about it in algorithms because we just use this function once and then we're done. But in general, you want to reuse as many functions as possible, if you can help it. Exactly. Yes. Yes. But no, this is good. Correct. Hopefully. But no, you gotta. It's important to understand. Okay. So, for conceptual reasons, for the outside looking in, if you are looking at this code for the first time, you see a function called update largest. We're going to create this function to take in two parameters. The first parameter is going to be, well, the three largest array that we just created. And this... Oh, wait, I forgot to write the loop. I'm tired. Okay, so first we need to loop over the array. Yeah, we need to loop the array, and each value of the array, we are going to call this function to compare. I got so many questions I kind of forgot that part, like the whole purpose. No, it's a good question. I just forgot. however you want. That's a lie. Okay. We're going to use my new favorite loop, the for of loop. I can remember it because I'm staring right at it on another monitor that you can't see. So we're going to have a for of loop to loop over each element of the array. So we're going to, yes. Oh, you remember to write const instead of let. You're amazing. No, no, use const. Use const. Use const. Yeah, I was like more congratulatory surprised rather than correcting. Okay, so we'll just call it for each num of array. So const will be num and then of array. Yes, so this is essentially a for, well, it is a for loop, but instead of worrying about index, I equals whatever, it's just going to loop over the entire array, and the value num is equal to the actual value of the index we're currently on. You don't have to keep track of all that yourself. Okay, now we put the update largest function inside of the for loop. You put the whole notes but not the actual code? Oh, okay. Okay. The notes are the notes are good. I hope. I think. Yes. Okay. So, back to our update largest function. Yes. Thank you, Trey. The second parameter is going to be num. Spoiler alert. It's going to be num. So on a, if you see this function for the first time, you don't know what it does. You see that if you see a for loop, you see the function find three largest numbers. You see that function takes an array. You see a variable that potentially holds three numbers, hopefully the three largest numbers according to the variable name. And then you would see a for loop mapping over the entire array, and then our update largest function would ideally take the three largest, our array that keeps track, and our number, which is the current number in our loop. And as each time this function is called, it will update our three largest array until the loop is done. And then we would, Jen, as we're driving, and then we will, at the end of the loop, return our three largest array. So if you're just reading this without seeing what any of the function does, you can kind of get the gist of what's going on. You're looping over the array. You're calling this function that kind of compares which numbers are the largest, and then you return the array that would have the three largest. It's a lot easier to read than 1,000 lines of code at once. You can see what's going on. Exactly. So, I've feel. Any questions on, I guess, this initial function so far? I know we got to create the other two helper functions, so don't worry about that. But does everyone understand as far as so far what we're trying to do? Silence means yes, by the way. Like. Okay, so now I'm going to pull. Oh, oh, there's a where. Why declare what? Oh, why declare num as const? Excellent question, actually. Because it. Well, never use var if you can help it, which you usually can. But as far as that's just advice you could take home with you right then and there. If you never have to use var again, don't. But as far as why we use const instead of let, technically it's again more linting, but the bigger question would probably be why you are able to use const instead of let, because ideally you would think that number changes, each time we loop over the array, which it does, but the way that const works is it can't be, reassigned a value, and that's technically what we're doing. But in reality, as far as behind the scenes, every time we go to a new item in the array, const is recreated. Every time if we're at index 0, const num is assigned the value of index 0. When we go to index 1, we don't change the value of const num. We basically create an entire new scope, and that scope has its own value of num, and that num is equal to index 1, and basically the value gets recreated each time rather than being reassigned. And we write const mostly because we don't want to be able to change the value of num outside of what the loop does for us. So one, it just helps you to kind of understand how the loops work behind the scenes, but also because anyone seeing this code, it would hopefully potentially down the road help them to understand that this should not be reassigned. It does not get reassigned inside of the loop. It is always going to equal the value of whatever the current index we are on in the loop. Exactly. Well, yeah. Well, okay. So, no. Well, the idea that you have is. Yeah. Yes. But. Yes. So, yeah. So, the for loop. Wait, do I have. Where's my. VS Code? No, I'm just gonna say I'm just gonna write it real quick. So basically, const num of array is equal to it would be the same as if I wrote. No, I'm deleting this after. This is, yeah, of array. I don't know, index. We're not creating this. But constant number of array is the same as if you created a variable inside the loop. Every time a new loop starts, the old everything that happened in the previous loop gets deleted, right? That's how loops work. Everything that happened in the previous loop is gone unless it's stored elsewhere. Const num of array technically works the same way. It would work as if we created that variable inside of our for loop. So every time we change indexes, the previous num is deleted. It's gone. We don't know what it is anymore. We created a new num, and that new num has its new variable value. In practice, in this case, none. In terms of how it affects our code, none. But in terms of me submitting my code at work, my linter will scream at me saying, "This isn't reassigned. Use const." Exactly. So, no, no problem. So, to summarize, the declaration of the variable has no effect on necessarily how it's stored in memory. It's just it only affects how we interact with it. How we declare only affects how we interact with it, whether or not we can change its value or not, whether we can reassign it or not. And then I'm not explaining var. We're not using var. Never use var again. Ray could probably tell you how the difference between varlet and const. And what is it, Ray? And you can learn these tips and more in Ray's Saturday morning spectacular. I forget the name of it. The coaching call. In Ray's coaching call every Saturday. I don't have the read in front of me, but I'll get the read next meeting. Okay, so yeah, send the memo. I'll bill you. Yes, so now we are going to create our update largest function. Yes. I mean, it's just a function. We could, in this instance, I don't care how you create it, but typically, if one thing is function, we all use function, just because you don't want to unnecessarily confuse anybody. If like, why is this one function and why is this one const? If there's no specific need to switch back and forth, I would not. Yes. A reason why we don't what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. That's what I was asking. Why you wouldn't want to? Just it's pure cognitive complexity, meaning you don't. If a developer look at this for the first time, he sees one function declared as a function, and he sees another function declared as an arrow function, or a function expression. He's gonna wonder why. What's the difference? It in reality, it doesn't matter. That 5 seconds could be better spent, elsewhere. Whereas if you just see a bunch of functions, you just understand, okay, they're all functions. Because if I see an arrow function, well, why is it an arrow function? Do we use this? Is there some sort of scoping thing that I need to be aware of? And in reality, none of that matters in this case. So, if all three are the same, then yeah. Yeah. Yes. Because technically they would, in this case, work the same way, whether it was an expression or not. But I also want you to just think just overall code quality. That's something an interviewer may just ask you, why didn't you just make another function? And if you didn't necessarily have an answer for that, it's just good to think about these things. It makes you more intentional with the code you write. Even though in the grand scheme of things it doesn't matter, but it helps you to be a little bit more intentional. No problem. So while I was on cruise control, Jen was writing the update largest function with our two parameters, which we kind of put above in our declaration or in our running the function. We need two parameters, the three largest array, and our current number that we are comparing. So this update largest function is going to handle the comparing and the updating. And, sort of. You'll see. I'm going to handle this dry throat by drinking some water, first of all. I'm highly offended. No. Yeah, turn National Geographic off. I don't. Got Discovery Plus over there. So basically, in this function, we are going to compare our current number to our to each value of the three largest array. Well, potentially comparing it to each value of the three largest array. We're going to start with from greatest to least and comparing whether or not we can update that value. So, what did I say? We are going to be comparing from biggest number to smallest number, whether or not our num is greater than each value in the we're going to compare whether or not our number is greater than one of the values in the array, or whether or not it can replace a null value. And we're going to start from potentially biggest number to potentially smallest number. Yes. So, we're going to compare starting with the first largest number. We could potentially compare all three, but we start from the biggest possible number. So we are going to write a conditional, however you wish. We can just use a if. Yes, we'll just use if, only because I tried to refactor it and it kept giving me bugs using other ways. So so we're gonna compare first of all if first we want to check if we're starting with first largest num. So first we want to check if first largest num is null, if there is no number there. So whoa. Okay, yeah. That is correct. Yes. Because we want to update if that is true. So if it is equal to null, which on the first pass it would be, that is true. Or if it is a number, but it is not. Well, I'll just write the other thing. I can barely read. Or if num is greater than our current largest. So greater than the largest two. Our three largest two. Sorry. So, if everyone can understand that, I usually add parentheses just to make it more readable, but it's not necessary. Yes. Because that's a lot of symbols, and it could be confusing potentially, and code editors help with that. So we first evaluate if three largest index 2 is equal to null. Next, we check if num is greater than three largest at index 2. So whatever that value is, whatever that third value is in our array. And if either of those are true, then we're going to call yet another helper function. Yay! Hooray! Yes. What are we gonna call that, Jen? You're the driver. You know where you want everything. However you want to name it, I don't question it. I just want the driver to not crash. Yeah, I just want my Tesla when my hands are off the wheel to not drive me off a cliff or run over anybody. So it is more specific and it is a more descriptive name for what we're actually doing. But again, I don't want you to crash. So whatever name you can remember and type. It's your car, you're the driver, I'm just holding the map. You choose where you want to put the cup holders and like look, you can do that. So shift and update. So shift and update. And this helper function is going to take 3 parameters. What? Don't do that yet. Oh, okay. Yes. See. So, the first one is going to be our 3 largest array again. So we're basically essentially passing in the same first 2 values, are the largest array and our number value, the value of our num. But the difference being the third parameter will be basically the index that we start shifting from. That would be the easiest way to put it. The index at which we start our shift. And if our current number is bigger than our largest number, we need to start that shift from the very end, or the rightmost number, or the last value in our array. So index 2 basically. You write too much. Well, I don't speak for you to type everything. Speak to explain to the listeners. So, wait, you didn't even write the index that we start our shift from. Well, okay, so if our current number is greater than the value at index 2, the starting index would be 2. I think that first line is kind of self-explanatory. And I don't expect you to write this same exact notes for the other 2 comparisons, by the way, because they're going to function very similarly. And I gotta get to target before they close. I gotta do stuff. Just throwing that out there. So got 1 now. So you would put those 3 parameters inside the helper function. Well, we don't have index declared yet. Our index is the index we're actively comparing right now, which is 2, the number 2. We could do something programmatic, but that'd just be a waste of time and space and other things. So that's the end of that conditional. And essentially we would also, this is probably a case where it'd be best to use else if, because you don't want to check multiple things if the first check is true. So keep that in mind when writing your notes. I don't want it to get messed up. Yes. I hope that works like that. No. Why? Because if our number is larger than our largest number, it's going to be larger than our middle number, and it's going to be larger than our smallest number, and you're going to run the same loop 3 different times and mess up your entire function. That is why. It's separate in JavaScript. I don't laugh at that because I've worked in too many languages. They all got different names. I guess that still technically works down there. So else if is basically we're going to, if it's not bigger than the largest index 2, we're going to compare it to the largest index 1. So a lot of copy paste is going to happen in the near future, ideally. Ideally. I mean, I did say there was going to be a lot of duplicate logic, so keep that in mind. Writing your notes. I'm gonna need more. I'm gonna need all the water. Correct. I'm sorry. Were you asking me something? I didn't hear what you were saying. If it's not greater than, so again, quick recap. We check if our number is greater than the absolute largest number in our array. If it is not, then it defaults to checking if it is smaller than the middle number in our 3 largest array. And if it is larger than the middle number in our 3 largest array, then we will call that same helper function, but we will be starting our shift and update from the index of the middle number, which is 1. Correct. We good there? I never know with you. So next, we are. I'm watching your screen. I just never know when you're about to write more notes, and then I don't want to repeat myself. So, so our final else if. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. 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 Do you know why it's an else if and not an else? You don't. I'm glad you asked, Jen. No, I really am. So, again, we only want the 3 largest numbers. And if we need to store only the 3 largest numbers, we need to make sure that our num is actually one of the 3 largest numbers. Else blocks execute as every time as long as the first two checks fail. So if it's not the largest, it is not the second largest. If it was else, it would automatically, in in the purpose of our function, it would automatically replace whatever the third number is. The problem with that is it would not actually check if the number we're replacing is the third largest number in our array. It would not check, it would just throw it away and replace it. That could give us an error. Just replace the index with 0, and yes, it is the same. Correct. No, we do not. This is just a helper function. It just separates logic, and it is going to tell our third function, or our second helper function, however you want to keep track at home. It's going to tell that function what to do and what parameters to work with. Yes. Yes, second helper, third in total. Shift and update. So that's essentially indeed. I'm positive you did. That would we would replace the literal number with a variable name representing that number. So index, IDX, something other than I, because we're going to use a for loop. The first parameter would be our three largest array again, or array for short, or however you would like to name that array. The red array, the expected output array. Yes. Yes, the value of our current number that we are comparing, that we got from our original function, if you have lost track at home. We're all at home, but I still like saying it. Yes, the starting, well, yeah, basically, the starting point as far as all the numbers we're changing. We're changing all the numbers up to that given index. The index is from yeah, it's from whatever the middle function was called. I already forgot. Oh, the index is from the red array. The index of where to finish our loop or start our loop, depending on how you wrote it. I'm just going to go from left to right in this case. Eh. First thing we're gonna do is add an n. Okay, second thing. Then write that. I don't know what IDEX is. So literal. Yes, is I index or IDX. I only accept those three. We will not pass my regex otherwise. So we are basically going to run a for loop starting from 0 up to and including the index that the index parameter. So I start from 0. We are going to write a loop starting from 0 up to and including whatever the index is that we have passed in through our in our shift and update function. Wait, what? Correct. I can be less than or equal to or greater than. We could also go backwards. It just needs, we only need to keep track of I from a certain position to any position. It doesn't have to be always be array, as long as it's less than array dot length. It doesn't always have to be that way. It could be as long as it's less than 5. It could be I as long as it's less than infinity. Don't do that. It could. Yes. Yes, because I is always going to start from 0, but we keep running the loop until basically we until our I is greater than whatever IDX is. That's once we stop. So if index is 2, then that means we run the loop 3 times, 0, 1, and 2. We update all the numbers in that array. So again, when technically we're just running this loop up until we've hit our specific index that we whatever we've passed in the previous helper function. So we're going to have 2 checks. Just as a simple if else. So, well, I guess one check technically. The else is not a check. It's yes. Excuse me. We want to check if the value of I is equal to the value of our index parameter. Why you say it like that? I thought we all knew. Yes. So the variable I, the value of our I pointer, the value of I in our for loop, we want to check if it is equal to the value of the index parameter we were passed in. If I is triple equal to index. In short, yeah. So the way the previous helper function worked, we basically checked if I was greater. If we go back to our previous helper function, we're comparing if the number is greater than the current the value at a specific index, right? And if any of the line, just the second the helper the helper function in general, the update largest helper function, just in general, we're checking if a number is greater than one of the values at a specific index, whether it's 2, 1, or 0. Yes. So first, we wanted, as we've written, wanted to see if the loop that we're starting at is equal to the index that is passed in. If it is, that means that the number that we were comparing in our previous function is now the number we need to replace or add into our result array, into our three largest array. Yes, because whatever number we checked that it's greater than, if it was, we checked if it's greater than 2, we checked if it's greater than 1, index 1, if we checked it's greater than index 0, whatever index that we checked that proved true, we now want to say, okay, replace the value of whatever is at this index and replace it with the value of our number, or of our num, the value of our num variable parameter. Yes. My throat is so dry. So if it is not, that means that we're not replacing a variable, we're shifting the values in our existing array. Well, it's still a replacement, but you know what I mean. We're shifting our values over to the left. We're shifting our red array. We're shifting our three largest values. We're shifting them to the left. Well, technically, we're updating our, I don't know how to word it, but if we're not adding the num into the array, we're removing the other numbers. Focus on the sound of his voice. Literally and figuratively, yes. 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 Wait, what? S- yes. Yeah, there's a bunch of ways to say this, but that requires more testing than I've done. If our, yeah, if I is equal to 0, then index -1 is gonna, that does nothing. Yeah, we'd have to start switching around. Then we have to check if I is great. I don't want to flip the array. Like, hypothetically, is we finish or is we done? I would enjoy that. No, it's big notes. I'm not even gonna make that joke. Array is not defined. Oh, wait, go back to the. So many notes. Go to VS Code where I can like tell what everything is. Our three largest, we wrote the parameter as three largest. It doesn't know what array is. If you want, yes. Okay, could we control D this, please? Or not? That's how you select multiple. That's how you. It goes. It looks for the next instance, and then the more you hit it, it selects each instance after that. Yeah. Why would you change it? But no. Control A, Control C. Why are you against shortcuts? It's the programming way. What does your being mixed have to do with efficiency? Mm. Bishesh. Negatives. There's probably some case where like maybe the number is 0 or something, and then it doesn't get replaced, and then is null greater than, I don't know. What? I'm timing you because I'm leaving in 5 minutes, and this recording ends. It will self-destruct. Let's see, contentful or what? Oh, Strappy. Keystone. Oh, you got all the CMSs. So what about them specifically? Just like the differences, or? You said Keystone? Right. So, for. Yeah. I haven't learned all of it yet, but Strappy is, for what I did use it for, it was good. You will have to customize it more, depend like it enables you to code more, but you have to do more manually. WordPress you could do a lot without ever touching the actual PHP. It just, but it is PHP when you have to edit something and make it custom. So I would recommend Strappy. I liked it. You get the Mongo database. Uh, I did it with Docker. It really depends on how this what you need that project for. Like, what does it need to do? If it's just content management, Strappy will take you a long way because it's free and open source, and you can customize all of the fields super easily. Uh, Almost non-existent as far as I know for Strappy. So there are now themes. Please tell me if there are themes. I have not seen them. It's because it's, but the benefit, yeah, the benefit of Strappy is it's all API. So if you can, you can use like Gatsby, for example, has a plugin built in, and you can just interact with the GraphQL part and just receive data. And if you don't want to use that, it also supports normal APIs, and you could just call the API, retrieve any data you want. So it'd be really easy to integrate with any theme if React, or just straight JavaScript if you know how to do API calls. So that's the benefit. Everything's an API by default, and you can call anything. And if you need some user stuff, you can. I think it uses JWT. I never really got into the admin stuff. Some things you will need to customize, like content management by default is trash. Well, everything in it is JavaScript. The backend is Node. Um, no TypeScript support for what I know, but a lot of people aren't going to be using that in the beginning anyway. But everything is Node, and you can trigger webhooks, and so you can integrate webhooks for when you need to update content or when it changes. The back end is built in, and you may want to change the editor. That's what I would recommend if you're going to be actually having like a blog. You want to look into how to change the default text editor to like a CK editor or something else. JavaScript based, but other than that, it pretty much can handle most things for you. Yeah, and I will connect with the Strappy expert because I want to use it again because I was using another CMS and it got deleted off my server, so I got to start over now. And I have plenty of them because I've used most of my career was WordPress and it don't pay the same, so I got out of there. uh, yeah, but there's ways to. Oh, I like he did with the variables. There's ways to short circuit that where it's not as annoying to write array index 0, 1, and 2. Yes. Absolutely. Highly recommend it. It's amazing. First, no, no. So, well, technically, well, it would be array. No, so first of all, just delete all that. Just, no, not delete everything to the right of the equal sign. Sorry, delete everything to the right of the equal sign. Yes, yes. So the way destructuring works is you're saying basically on the left. d- Don't go O unless you got it. So first of all, we don't want to destructure the array. We want to destructure our results. Um, so wait, is there a results array or a three number array or anything like that? Ah, I see. I could destructure the first solution. I don't know what is going on here. Is this? Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. That'll never work because the first three are not sorted. He's checking if the first, second, third are greater than and less than, and then rearranging them. Is that what he's doing? Alright, sorry guys, I'm gonna stop my recording, so I'm gonna head out. But I will catch you guys on the next one.